Okay, let's take a look at how JavaScript stores things. So JavaScript always has a name for something, and then it points that name, stores either a value or an object or possibly a function. So these are called name value pairs sometimes, but when we get a name, when we're looking at a name in JavaScript, we need to know what kind of thing it's pointing to. So let's take a look at these in a bit more detail. If it's pointing to an object, so we could have an object, say, called point, so this is an XY coordinate, say. Inside the object called point, I'll show you in some code in a minute, and the way an object is defined is by these curly brackets. We might have name value pairs themselves. So inside the object now, we've got a property called X. The name is on the left hand side, then there's a colon, and then a value. So inside as well, we have name value pairs inside the object. So here I'm showing the X, and since it's a name, I'm putting quotes around it, but then that points to a value, okay, and the same with Y. And we'll take a look at, we'll create one of these. Okay, so that's objects, and now let's have a look at another kind of thing that can be pointed to, and that's a function. So we could have a function, add, the name is add, and it's defined, and we define the function. I've brought up console here. I'm clicking on this console, and now I can type in JavaScript. So let's take a look at our different kinds of objects. Whenever we define a name, we put var in front of it. I want to get myself a variable. Now, these can be all kinds of things, as I say. They could be a value, an object, or a function. So here, let me just put var x equals, say, 5. Okay, and if I type x, it's got a value 5. Var y equals 7. Now, when we're in this console, we can just type x equals 5, and it'll know the var piece for us. And it shows then x as 5. Okay, but usually we'll use var. I'm going to clear that off, and let me just move this up so we get some more room. You can see. Okay, so that was a variable. Now let's do an object. So let me have an object. I'm going to call it P, and to define an object, I have curly braces. Now inside that object, I'm going to say x equals 5 and y equals, sorry, we don't use that. We say x colon 5. Okay, so not equals. When we're defining an object, it's a colon, and then comma for another property. So now we've got an object. There it is, P, and it shows us that object. Yeah. Now, don't worry about this proto stuff. This is other things. But x, we've got a property x5, y7. Now, to get at those, we use a dot, p dot x. Its value is 5. If I want to set the value, p dot x equals 8. Now, if I look at p, the x value has changed to 8. The dot means follow the name, go to the object, P, and then get the property. And in this case, I'm going to have a variable called P, or let me call it point. And it's going to be an object. I'm going to put inside X as a property, 5, comma Y, colon 7. And it's going to be, let me call this add point. This is a name that I'm giving, but I'm going to make that point to a function. That one I defined before, add. Okay, so now point shows these two properties, but if I look further, there's another function now, and it's called add point. How do I refer to that function, add point? Well, I need to follow the dot. Yeah, there it is. That would be that function. If I want to fire that function, Then I need to pass some values in. Let me pass in 4 and 5. There we are, 9. What have we seen? We've seen that names can point to either a value or an object or a function. If it's an object, inside the object we can have properties like x and y. You might call them variables. But we could have a function as well. And again, that's a name that points to a function. Now, I could have, let me redefine that point. I'm going to overwrite it if you like. So let me overwrite it and have x6, y7. Now, let's define a variable. It's going to be a name rather. So always on the left of a column is a name. Let's call it, I'll call it new add. Okay, and I can just make that point directly to a function. I can define my function here. Up here, I'd already defined add. Yep, but here I'm defining it on the fly. So let me I'm going to return, and I can screw up and I'll say a minus b this time. Okay. I'm going to return a minus b. Now I've got to be careful here. I need another bracket to match this bracket over here, and I'll end it with a colon, semicolon. Now there's the object 6, 7, and now we have new add, which is a function, and it does the same as before. Well, it doesn't do the same as before. And new add is a function. Let's type in, how do I get it, new add? Well, dot, new add, and then let me do 7, 6, 7, 6, yeah. Pass it in. Now, what's it going to return? Remember I did minus. Yeah, 7 minus 6 is 1. Now, that's kind of silly that I did that, but we've seen how to declare value types, objects, and functions. And inside an object, we can have functions. So inside an object, we can have any of the types that we can define. Okay for now.